now, an 8th special presentation.
This time on Art Beat Nation, a choreographer puts her life into her work.
Every aspect of where you live affects your work, whether you realize it or not.
An art critic gives her highest praise to the creator of Star Wars.
I say that George Lucas, is the world's greatest living artist.
An artist who sculpts the old to make something new.
I'm interested in having these things, cutting them apart, giving them a new history, a new aesthetic.
And a shining collection of art made with tinsel.
This is a woman's art form.
It's all ahead on this edition of Art Beat Nation. Funding for Art Beat Nation is made possible by contributions to aid from viewers like you. Thank you. First, we meet Rosie Herrera, a choreographer who uses her life experiences, memories, and emotions to create dance moves and performances that combine her eclectic interests.
My name is Rosie Herrera, and I'm a choreographer and a director. I've been performing my whole life, and I have a pretty eclectic performance background. I was commissioned in 2009 to create a piece by the Miami Light Project entitled Various Stages of Drowning, a cabaret. And I was lucky enough that Charles Reinhardt was in the audience in that performance, and he took me to the American Dance Festival, and after that it was just a snowball of events and activities, and I've been full-time choreographing and directing since then. I went to college. I knew I loved theater, but I hated talking on stage. Every time I talked on stage, it just didn't feel right. And so I went to the University of Florida, where I studied miming. And from miming, I found dance. I didn't figure that out before. Oh, I want to express myself with my body. Oh, I'm a dancer. I actually started studying classical music because when I was in theater, I had an abnormally high speaking voice, as I still do. I went to a vocal instructor and I was like, I am sick and tired of being typecasted as a child or a hooker or people with like character voices. I was like, I want to have a regular, normal voice. And so I started doing vocal training, and that led me to opera, and I fell in love. And so when I was in school for dance, I was this hip-hop, dancing, opera, singing, cabaret, modern dancer who loved drag queens. I never felt really completely fed with just one form. I felt like there was so much to learn when exploring other forms that in 2009, when I was commissioned to do a piece, I pulled the break dancer from the hip-hop background, the drag queen from the cabaret, the ballerina from school, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is why I had to do so many different things, because now my company consists of performers of all different genres, from performance art and theater and actors and dancers and opera singers and drag queens and b-boys. It's kind of runs the whole gamut of performance. And so I knew it made sense, but it took me getting commissioned for it to all make sense to me. It's kind of like saying, how does being Latin affect your work? I'm Latin. I don't know how it would affect my work because I've always been Latin. But the thing about, when I graduated from New World, I said very clearly I want to be in Miami. There's something about the light here, there's something about the bodies here that really inspire me in a way that no other place does. I think every aspect of where you live affects your work, whether you realize it or not, from the architecture to the weather to the nightlife. And I think that is present in my work very clearly. For example, it's really important to me that the hip-hop element is represented in my work, because I feel like Miami has had a long tradition of really being innovators in breakdancing. There's a sexiness in Miami that is more tangible. There's an openness in the body because it's warm. It's warm here, so people wear less clothing. People are more touchy-feely. People kiss on the cheek even if they don't know each other. It's very different. For example, in Various Stages of Drowning, it was a series of dreams that I had over a 3-year period. And usually when I create a piece or I have a subject matter, I take that into the studio and I start to dissect it and rearrange and abstract it to see it from 1,000 different angles, and that's how I create material. But with Various Stages of Drowning, I had almost like every scene completely choreographed in my head, and then I met the dancers and I just like put it on them. And so it was very different, where in the past the movement kind of came out of the theme. This was the first time that the image was created first, and then the movement came to serve that image. It's kind of backwards, I think, for dancers. I probably go through like 200 to 300 balloons a performance. I think like half of my budget is like helium. Helium and pastries. Pastries keep finding their way into my work. And I had to really sit down and say, wow, you know, this piece has 10 birthday cakes and this one has 3 pies. And like, what's next? You know, like, what else am I going to do? And then I thought about it and I was like, well, my dad was a pastry chef. Like, of course, those things find their way, like, into my work. Like, the smell of, like, baking bread reminds me of my father. Like, what if my father was, like, a cowboy? There'd be, like, 50 horses on stage. There is so much amazing talent here. People need to see this. And so I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be able to finally do that. So I guess it's just a really exciting and great time for me that I'm learning, as per my New Year's resolution, to really enjoy.
To find out more about Rosie Herrera and her dance company, visit rosieherrera.com. Cultural critic and provocateur Camila Paglia has put the art world in her crosshairs. In her recent book, Glittering Images, she covers more than 24 works of art from ancient Egypt to the present day. Jared Bowen sat down with Paglia to talk about her book and the blistering introductory essay in which she takes the art world to task.
Deeply irritated by what she views as a disintegrating appreciation of art, cultural critic and provocateur Camila Paglia has taken it upon herself to help us to relearn to see. In Glittering Images, she writes essays on more than 24 works of art from ancient Egypt to the present day. She covers artists you know, those you don't, and the one person she considers the world's greatest living artist. More on who he is in a moment, but first, Camila Paglia is here. Welcome.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you.
So, first, I have to say, I love your opening essay. You sort of take aim at everybody, from artists who put themselves up in the ivory tower to artists who are too sensational, like the artist who was in the Brooklyn art exhibit who put the feces on the painting, to people who are denigrating artists just because it's a political thing to do. So in what sort of climate do you feel you're making this book, you're writing this book?
Well, I'm a great listener to talk radio for the past 20 years, and I've been very dismayed about the image of art and artists, okay, that has been caused by the art world's own, it seems to me, irresponsibility in supporting works, third and fourth rate works that are sacrilegious toward other people's values, such as Andre Serrano's Piss Christ, or the Chris O'Feely work at the Brooklyn Museum show, The Holy Virgin Mary, which had, in addition to the elephant dung, had pornographic cutouts like fluttering like butterflies around the Madonna. I mean, I'm in favor of freedom in the arts, totally.
Yeah, because everybody, sorry to interrupt already, but everybody came to that piece and they defended it and said, this is his work, he's an artist, this is art, but you don't necessarily agree.
Well, what I feel is there's a double standard in museums in the United States where you can get away with committing sacrilege against Catholic imagery, but they would never tolerate it against Muslim or Hebrew imagery. So there's something very wrong in the art world right now, where shock is the sort of default gesture. What I'm saying in this new book, which is directed toward the general audience, is that the avant-garde is dead. Andy Warhol, my hero, killed it. Okay, probably the last truly avant-garde work would have been the photographs by Robert Mapplethorpe of the gay sadomasochistic underground in New York City in the late 1970s. But since then, get off of this. Okay, the art world is a wasteland, is what I'm saying. I'm talking as a career teacher of 40 years in art schools. I think that that creativity has migrated into industrial design, into animation, into video games, and I say that George Lucas, is the world's greatest living artist. There's just nothing. I looked for something to end this book, and my book, which I took 5 years to write, starts in ancient Egypt and goes 3,000 years. And I was looking for strong work in the contemporary art scene in order to end it with a bang. I couldn't find anything.
How is that possible? You couldn't find anything?
Nothing that can hold up to the great masterpieces that are in the work from before. For example, Picasso's Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, the most famous painting of the 20th century. Very difficult Cubist style. What I do in this book is explain very simply for the general reader what are these styles, Cubism and abstract expressionism, and but I begin with antiquity and show how art is often driven by a spiritual mission. There's a theme of spirituality in art. You do not have to be religious in order to appreciate this. I'm an atheist myself, but what I'm declaring war on in this book, okay, is this very snide, supercilious type of atheism typified by Christopher Hitchens, okay, in our cultural scene, where people just sneer at religious belief and at believers as if they are rubes and we are the sophisticates and so on. Well, I say in the introduction, okay, sneering at religion is juvenile. I'm very 1960s. We made a movement toward Zen Buddhism, toward Hinduism, okay, and I believe that it's time, okay, if the art world wants to recover its creativity, and if academe wants to come back from its wasteland, okay, it needs to be more honest about what religion contains. Religion contains a view of the universe that is grand. It is awesome, okay? And if you don't have a sense of the grandness of the universe and of human existence, okay, then you have nothing to say. And that is why our Ivy League is a dead zone creatively, and why our art world in New York is another dead zone. And I'm trying to cure those ills with this book.
And I want to back up for a second. And this, I think, goes to your point, too, especially in the last this point goes to probably the last 10 years. But you talk about how our eye has been desensitized. And has that happened to artists as well? But I assume you're talking about sort of how we're bombarded with images everywhere we look now. You can't just take a moment to look through a book like yours because you've seen 30 images just before you've opened the book. So do you feel that's part of what has happened to artists?
Yes, I think that we are living in a kind of visual chaos right now. Every time we turn the computer on, or we go to check our email or look at our iPhones, everything is bombarding in this. It's like there's a flashing strobing effect, also coming from advertisements that I think is contributing to children's problem with attention deficit disorder. I think we're affecting children's brains very negatively.
So do pieces of art then not resonate with children the way they may have resonated when we were going to museums as children?
Children have never seen a work of art, okay? And unless you have a family that is interested in the arts and has taken you to a museum or shown you an art book, most children have no idea about what a painting is or how to look at it. And there are these major works of art, so complex with so much going on in them. So so my aim in doing this book, okay, was there are 29 chapters. I wanted to do the chapters as short as possible, and this whole sequence, this chronology, coming down all these centuries to the present, to try to get people to just sit with a book and look at an image and let their eyes explore the image. I say that you get a sense of serenity, tranquility from this contemplative act that I think is very close to religious. So I want for people to recover that sense of reverence toward art. Okay, that's what I feel. I don't look down at art in this post-structuralist, postmodernist way where you're looking at all the hidden power plays in the artwork. Oh, the racism, the sexism, the homophobia. What a cheap and silly way to diminish art.
No, you don't, because as you just mentioned, you consider the greatest living artist someone no one would think of, I guarantee you, George Lucas.
Yes, well, not only have George Lucas's contributions to the digital age been enormous, right? But in the last film he directed, Revenge of the Sith, the sixth film made in the Star Wars series, though narratively belongs in the middle, which was done in 2005. In the grand finale of that film, okay, which goes on and on and on, done, I say, is like grand opera. It's like apocalyptic nature painting. It has politics in it. It has industry in it. There's an incredible amount in it, and it's one of the most, plus dance theater with the longest duel ever filmed on this lava river on the volcano planet of Mustafar. What I say, this is the most powerful work of art of the last 30 years, the grand finale of Revenge of the Sith. And people who have not seen it, okay, don't know what they've been missing.
You have reacquainted me. I bailed out at the series. It's somewhere along the line. I think it was after the second one, and now I want to go back and see it just because of what you've written. It's a fantastic book, especially because you contextualize everything, too. There's a bit of biography of the artist, certainly the works of art. Glittering Images, Camille Paglia, thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you.
Metal artist Jaden Moore deconstructs mass-produced metal trays and mementos from the early 20th century and reassembles them into haunting works. His work explores the concepts of memory and personal history. Here's a look.
Since I was 5 years old, I knew I wanted to be an artist. I just didn't even know what that meant. You know, I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. I think we all create narratives from the objects that we hold on to. And that's one of the things that I'm very interested in, is how we create memory on top of things, or how we use objects to create memory, and how we affect memory through that. And I think that's what I'm really interested in this material, is that patina, that wear starts to kind of alter the object, as well as how the memory is altered as well. So I'm not interested in getting a new piece of sheet metal or anything like that. I'm interested in having these things, cutting them apart, giving them a new history, a new aesthetic, and then pushing that further. I kind of began to see that there was 20, 30, 40 different of the same platters on these antique shops and secondhand stores and eBay. And so I became interested in how something can be made by the thousands, but then totally different, 20 or 30 years down the road. And I think that is kind of beautiful, that we're all kind of relating to these objects, and we all have them in our households, but it's how we use them that makes them individual. What I'm trying to do is take those platters and cut them up to show kind of how the same patterns are used, how the same materials used, and how they also have been changed over their time. And so what I do is I cut the platters up and then try to merge the platters by a process called marriage of metal, where I'm taking patterns and overlaying them and cutting out whatever I want to lose or keep, and then keep passing the two patterns over each other until I've kind of created kind of a jigsaw pattern, so that once I've cut and filed them, they can slide right into each other. The prints are kind of like ready-made etchings. So I find different platters that I think are interesting or visually pleasing, that maybe they have like a ton of scratches from families cutting bread on top of the platters, or they have interesting initials or things like that. And I cut out the imagery and then push ink onto the plate, just like an etching. And then from there, I put it down onto a print press with the paper above it, and then a couple blankets, and a big roller comes and pushes the blankets into the paper to kind of grab that ink. And this is from a lady who's got this when she got married for the first time. And what I really love about this piece is, she doesn't want the object anymore. She's kind of through with it. She doesn't want it to be a part of her life, but I think she still knows that it has significance. That history, that timeline has changed her and altered her to become who she is now. And so being able to print just the kind of the top layer, the scratches, the patina, the kind of little notches and things like that left over, really get to show kind of how it's been used and how it's been used until one specific end point. My name is Jaden Moore, and I'm an artist.
Jaden Moore is a resident artist at the Houston Center for Contemporary Craft. You can find out more about him at jadenmoore.com. Finally, an art form that really shines. At New York City's American Folk Art Museum, we explore the exhibition Foiled, Tinsel Painting in America. Tinsel paintings are reverse paintings in which metallic foil is applied behind translucent and transparent areas of glass. Curator Lee Kogan takes us inside the exhibit.
I'm Lee Kogan, Curator Emerita at the American Folk Art Museum. We're in a unique exhibition called Foiled, Tinsel Painting in America. The use of metallic foil was an added technique to an old technique going back to Renaissance Italy of reverse painting on glass. This is a woman's art form that was popular from 1850 to 1890, and they were displayed in the dining room and parlor and glowed in candlelight and later gaslight. The imagery is largely floral. Therefore, there are wreaths, garlands, bouquets, vases, compotes filled with flowers, fruit, and we see it was a time of great optimism, and these themes, particularly the floral theme, shows abundance and plenty. Birds and fountains were other subjects which were very popular in tinsel painting, particularly parrots and peacocks. At the time, the parrot was Queen Victoria's favorite pet, and the peacock was a symbol of immortality. Also, we see patriotism as an important theme. We see religious themes, themes of family life, but there also are architectural examples and landscapes. Tinsel paintings were primarily paintings for the wall, but they took other forms as furniture, tilt-top tables, the inside of a box, a tray, the front of a book. They took many surprising other forms as well. Before the age of mass production, people made their own games and made their own game boards. And during the 19th century, chess and checkers were favorites. The technique of tinsel painting was a personal art form. Tinsel paintings were given as gifts to family members and friends. Therefore, there was no need to sign one's name. One of the most exciting discoveries in this project was the identification of an actual tinsel painting practitioner, Alice Knight. She lived to be 103, and during her lifetime, practiced as an artisan professional. She painted trays, she painted furniture, she painted landscapes on oil, but she also painted hundreds upon hundreds of tinsel paintings, many of which she signed in pencil on the back with her name and hometown. Outstanding is one that she did in several versions, which turns out to be Act 2 of Swan Lake, the ballet by Peter Tchaikovsky.
To find out more about tinsel painting, visit folkartmuseum.org. For more arts and culture, visit azpbs.org/artbeat, where you'll find featured videos and information on the Arizona art scene. Funding for Artbeat Nation was made possible by contributions to AIT from viewers like you. Thank you.